once you know that you can't actually be perfect with something, it's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
And then you can accept that. Quite a lot of this stuff is about accepting yourself and accepting what kind of a person you are. So when you find that moment, you can actually take strength from it.
Welcome to Creativity Is, the podcast by 64 million artists that celebrates our unique creativity. Each episode explores our guests' life experience and how that has shaped their imagination, connections, and self-expression. It's an open invitation to everyone. This is a reminder that if you have a mind to dream, you possess the power to be creative, because creativity is yours to explore. Can I get a round of applause, please?
Hey.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Koi. I am a black cisgendered woman in my early 20s, and we are in a studio with a special guest. I'm a producer and content creator, and today I am hosting Creativity Is. And of course, I'm not alone. I am joined by the amazing poet, writer, broadcaster, and meme, Michael Rosen. Hey!
Hi, thanks very much. And my name is Michael Rosen. I'm white, I'm Jewish, I live in North London. I'm sitting about 1 metre away from Koi, and I'm very much looking forward to this. I also support Arsenal Football Club.
I support Manchester United. We have our creative prompt. Can I go woo?
Oh yeah, can I go as
Yeah,
well?
you can do it. Woo! Okay. So let's see what it is. I also don't know what this is, so it's surprising for both of us. Okay, so this creative prompt has been set by Jemima Frankel. Imagine a billboard that everyone can see.
Yes.
What would you put on that billboard? 8 billion eyes on this billboard. What do they need to know? Or see?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to use this piece of paper and some Sharpies, and we're going to wow the world with our creativity.
Okay.
All right, then.
Right.
There you go. Oh, your glasses suddenly appeared on your face. I
know.
love that.
And do we have a pen, or do we just sort of mime it?
There you go. Here's some pens.
Oh, right. Very good. So we'll go with that one.
Yeah,
okay.
Right colour. All right. I think we should time this.
Really?
Can I get 2 minutes on the timer? Fantastic. Can I get money? Okay, just think. I didn't know what worked. Okay.
Yours is pink.
Yes, it is. Yours is black.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Well, I just did 2 words. It's all I could think of. I told you it was Monday morning.
Okay.
Someone off camera is telling me to draw. The person off camera doesn't realise that my drawing standards are about that of a 6-year-old.
I think so is mine.
And I'm a bit ashamed of that, so I'm avoiding shame.
Okay, I'm going to get another colour as well. I like colour.
So much better at this than me.
No, don't be deceived, actually. I'm actually panicking inside, but I'm going to try my best.
I'm panicking because I stopped.
I think it's good to see that people have different styles.
Yes, well, I'm thinking of just a billboard. You've only got time to see it as you drive past at 50 miles an hour.
But that's why I put some colour to hopefully drive back round. And
they come back to see the colour. They're going to go, what was that? Okay, look, I've just done a little creative bit.
Oh, love
You're
that.
You're going to be so excited by that.
Okay. Woo! Okay, we've got to 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Do we show each other the world?
The world?
The world. Okay. Okay.
Now, what does yours say?
Mine says, be nice once today.
Oh, that's
It's
lovely.
a coupon. It's a be nice coupon.
Oh, I see.
If everybody in the world was nice just once, I think, per day,
yes,
it might be a nicer day for everybody.
That's true.
I love that, though. Be curious.
Yes, my dad said that to me.
Okay, and it always stayed with you.
Yes, that's right. I thought, but you've got the only creative bit I did was the little sort of circle above the eye. That's as far as I got. It was, anyway, but maybe it could do with a question. It could say, be curious, and then someone could write under it, why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I like that.
Yeah,
but I do
so
think...
I'm going to cheat the numbers there. So I'm going to put someone there. It's a sort of graffiti on it. Why is that?
Oh, I like that.
There's a sort of graffiti, and then they're being curious about being curious.
Oh,
it's self-referential.
That's a big word.
It is. Be curious.
I
Why
actually
is that?
really love that. I live by that.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's a very good thing for everyone to learn how to do.
So outrageously, I cheated. I'm sorry. The
No,
producers
you were
are just
curious
about
with
to
the
throw me
rules.
out now
No,
because
no, no,
I
no.
broke the rules.
No, they won't. They love that.
Yeah.
I hope so. But okay, fantastic. Well, now you've shown us what creativity looks like when you're doing it. Can you talk to us a little bit about your creative journey and what creativity means to you? I can steal
Right.
this from
You're
you.
going to take that from me?
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll put the pen down there. Creative journey. Wow. So where do I start? Was I age 2?
One of the things I realized was that a lot of your poetry was inspired by your life between the
Yes.
age of 2 and 11. And I don't really spend much of my life kind of thinking about those times. So I just wanted to know what else inspires your creative work.
Yes. Well, look, let's start when I was at least 3 anyway.
Yeah.
That I went to a nursery school called Tyneholm Nursery School in Wealdstone in North London. And my parents told me that, first of all, I didn't call the teacher Miss Hornby. I called her Hornby teacher.
Okay.
Right, so that was my first creative act,
Okay.
if you like. And then my second one was that I came home every evening, Mum would pick me up, and she'd say, "What was it like today?" And I'd say, "Gallagher's got a big gas stove." And she'd think, "What? He's just been at nursery school. What's this gas stove? Gallagher's got a big gas stove." So this apparently went on for the whole week. Mum would pick me up. Gallagher's got a big gas stove. She picked me up from just next door because my mum was training to be a teacher at that time. So she didn't pick me up at the nursery school itself. But on the last day of the week, she went into the school and said, "Michael keeps coming back every day and saying Gallagher's got a big gas stove, and it's all we're finding out about what you're doing at this nursery school. It seems a bit strange." And so Hornby teacher, Miss Hornby, took my mum, apparently, into the kitchen. And there was Mrs. Gillick, who I'd obviously heard as Gallagher or Gilliker or Golliker or something. So anyway, so there was Mrs. Gillick and a huge gas stove that had to work for the whole of the nursery school. And obviously I thought this was the most impressive thing in the whole of the nursery school. So that was it. And all through my childhood, when in doubt, my parents just turned to me and go, "Gallagher's got a big gas stove." So it became a sort of slogan in the house. So I like to think of it as my second creative act, after Hornby teacher, that I interpreted the whole of nursery school as a giant gas stove with this wonderful woman, Mrs. Gillick, standing in front of it, dishing up presumably things like, as they did in the 50s, baked beans, scrambled egg made with egg powder.
Egg powder? That's
Oh,
creative.
yes.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, yes, before your time, I think, Coy. So, yes, I think you'll find that during the war and just after it, I don't know, not many people got hold of eggs. They reduced eggs down to powder, and then you mixed it up with either water or milk, and then you made something that resembled scrambled egg. And when you ate it, sometimes there were little sort of chunks of
Powder?
sort of globs of dry powder that hadn't actually got mixed in. So you'd be eating your scrambled egg, like that. Anyway, so that's the sort of food, but I'm sure Mrs. Gillick did more than that. Baked beans, suet pudding.
Potatoes?
Potatoes? Yeah, there were potatoes in the post-war period. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And they did say fish was important. We did keep eating fish, boiled fish.
Okay. I feel like you've done so much. There's articles, there's books, there's poetry. And I just wanted to understand, like, what is your process of picking the medium in which you're going to express your idea?
I think at this stage in my life, because I'm on a bit, quite
No,
often...
you're not. So there was a pause there. No, you're not.
Yeah,
There
well,
you go.
I've given away my age, 1946, so I'm 77, and so I've been around for a bit. So quite often people choose for me.
Oh, okay.
They'll say, "Will you do this, please?" Like you've said to me today, will I come along and talk today?
Yeah.
You see, so that often happens. So people ask me to work on radio. So I do quite a lot on the radio. That means writing scripts and interviewing people. Well, you know how to do that. So it's like that. And then sometimes people say, "Well, you did that picture book, not the pictures, the words. Could you do another one a bit like it?" So then I sit there thinking, I could do another one like it. Could I do it? Could I think of something? So you see, people ask me to do things, but occasionally I do go, "Oh, I know, I could do this."
Okay.
So I've made a video about when I was ill. And then I discussed that with a camera person and a producer. And then we made a 40-minute video about me being ill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, Yeah, I find last thing at night and first thing in the morning quite creative times.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, as you doze off, things can come up in front of your mind, can't they? Almost involuntarily. Well, some people just think, just forget that. It's just irritating. But I try and catch it. So it's like a bit like trying to catch a butterfly. You know, you go, quick, catch it before it goes. And maybe scribble it down.
Yeah.
Just a little key word. And then same in the morning. That just grab it, put a key word. Sometimes I put it on my phone, on the notebook on my phone. And that's a good way then to remember it. And then I can go harvesting. That's what I call it. I can go scrabbling about in my notes and think, what was that idea? I'm sure it wasn't bad there. That idea about things being equivalent. You know, it might be quite abstract, or it might be something very, very concrete. I've got something written down. I think it says stray dog. And then that's a key to something.
So something else.
That will remind me of an episode.
Okay.
Or it says worn map. And that's a story about my dad when he basically got us lost in the French mountains.
Okay.
And it's because he had rubbed his thumb on the map and he thought that there was a way through, but there wasn't. And so at about 8 o'clock at night, we were stranded on this cliff in the middle of the Jura Mountains. But you see, it just says worn map. But that's the trigger for that story, which I'll write down.
Please write that down. Something kind of just dawned on me. You have such an impressive career. And I think a lot of people shy away from creativity because they think it has to be really successful. Tons of people have to love it. You know, you have to be a really well-recognized name. So I would love you to go back to the first time you were writing your first piece of poetry or your first book and just talk me through if you went through any fears or just your experience. Let me not lead you. Like, what was your experience of writing that first piece of poetry that then went on to really make your name well known?
I think the first poem that I wrote that I can remember thinking I am writing a poem, as opposed to something a bit odd that I was doing at primary school, that poem, I can remember that was about a train slowing down. It wasn't very exciting, as I often tell children. The first thing I remember is about a train slowing down. Mind you, I do tell them you could be angry about the train slowing down. So the line is, now the train, and now the train is slowing down. That is the line. And so I say, well, it is quite boring, but you could make it angry. So it would be, and now the train is slowing down. Or you could make it quite happy.
And now the train is slowing down.
Yeah, it could be even happier.
And now the train is slowing down.
Yeah, now let's be sad about it.
And now the train is slowing down.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for giving me that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there are ways of even taking a line like that, which is, ain't great. But the first one where it really sort of twigged was we had a teacher called Miss Grant who was teaching us some poems by a man called Robert Browning, famous Victorian English poet, and he wrote what are called dramatic monologues. Okay. So a dramatic monologue is like you get in Shakespeare, when, the action stops and then you get a character like Macbeth saying, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day till the last syllable of recorded time. So anyway, there we are. There's a monologue. And Macbeth's very fed up because he's killed some people and he's a bit unhappy about it. Well, no, he's not unhappy about killing people. But anyway, the next day is not going to be good. That's why he says tomorrow 3 times. So there we are. There's Macbeth. But Browning sort of took it on a step further. He tried to write monologues where the person, if you like, destroys himself or provides a narrative that is of itself ironic so that you find out something. And the famous one begins, that's my last Duchess on the wall. I believe that's how it goes, or that's my last Duchess painted on the wall. And what he's doing is showing some people round this Duke. He's showing people round his castle. And he shows this picture of a woman, the Duchess, on the wall. And by the time you get to the end, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You realise that he's probably killed her. But he doesn't say that. Yes, he just mentions something about orders were carried out. And so by the time you get to the end, you realise he's a very arrogant and cynical sort of a person. I think he's already got married to somebody else. And he's very interested in his great fine art that he possesses. But all that is as if he's not self-aware. Yes? So I was really excited by this. So imagine me 13 to 14 and reading this, and I just thought, isn't that brilliant that you could write something where the person, as it were, is not aware of what it is they're saying, but we who are reading it, we are aware. Which obviously Shakespeare works on that basis, but Browning was able to do it in just one poem, you see. And then the teacher said, we'll go home and write a dramatic monologue. And we all went, right, okay, yeah. That's the way it was in schools in the 50s. So we went home, and I remember writing a dramatic monologue about a man standing on a beach with someone pleading for mercy, and this man not giving him mercy, being cruel. And so I wanted the idea that this person, you realised by the end what a nasty person he was, even though he was trying to say that he was okay, you see. So that was the struggle. I quite like the idea of sometimes writing being a bit of a struggle as to convey something, and you kind of, can I get it? Do I find the right word? So I wrote that, and I think it went into the school magazine.
Oh.
So somewhere hiding deep in the heart of the archives of the old Wealden, the school was called Harrow Weald, the old Wealden, there is that dramatic monologue by Michael Rosen, 3C.
Well done for that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Did it matter to you that other people understood or thought it was a good poem? Like, how did you measure that you did a good job?
Good question. I think my first port of call were my parents.
Okay.
I wanted them to think it was good.
Okay.
So my mum and dad were both teachers. Mum was a primary school teacher. Dad was a secondary school teacher, English teacher as well. So I was pretty keen on them. There wasn't much point in asking my mum whether it was good, because she thought everything I did was good. So she just went, oh, that's nice, lovely, nice. And I go, yeah, what do you think of it, mum? No, that's nice, that's lovely. So she was a doting mum. She had lost a child before me, and I think I kind of received the love that comes to a child who comes after, you know. My dad was much, much more demanding. And so I remember him reading it and going, yes, keep going, lad, keep going. And I don't know why he called me lad. It wasn't in his culture. Where'd he get this lad thing from? And he always used to say, keep going, lad, keep going. Which I think I sort of took as meaning, well, maybe it would be worth carrying on a bit. But he didn't get any kind of, that's really good from my dad. Okay. I think he thought that would like spoil me, because that's what mum was doing all the time. So he had to compensate by not spoiling me. Keep going, lad. Yep. Yeah, that was the, and I did want that. And my brother thought that I didn't have enough parents. Well, I had two, but he didn't think that was enough, so he thought he ought to be another parent.
Yeah, I'm like that.
Have you got one of them?
I am that person.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, like to my little brother and sister.
Yes, he just thought that he had to teach me everything that he was taught immediately, the day after he had been taught it, which was okay, but, I mean, so you imagine by the time he was so clever that he missed a year at school.
Oh, that's cool.
They said, you're a genius, you're great, you don't have to go into the second year at secondary school, so you miss a year. So by the time he was like 14, he was like fluent in French and German and was doing calculus and physics stuff that you just like never heard of. And he thought he had to teach it to me when I was about 9. So we'd sit in the bedroom and he'd go, right, Mick, that's what he used to call me, 2 cars, they're both accelerating, but one's accelerating faster than the other one's accelerating. How can you calculate the difference between the 2 rates of acceleration? And I'd sit there going, I don't know, and I don't care, I don't know. And he'd go, no, listen, Mick, this is called integration and differentiation, and the way you can do it is d2y by d2x. And he'd sit there in the bed doing that stuff, and I've never recovered really. But he was brilliant at everything that he did, and so I had these 3 parents. So I would have wanted my brother to have liked it. I can't remember what his reaction was, but I know I would have wanted him to like the poem, yes.
Well, I think that's amazing. I think a lot of people, like I said, are nervous to try something new because they worry about everybody liking it.
Yes.
And I've always just thought, to those people, do you have advice for them, like something you'd want them to know? Because I think everyone should just go ahead and try regardless.
Yes, that's right, you should. And you should have some way in which you can feel satisfied yourself. I know that's very, very hard because, we all walk around with voices in our heads. They are the voices of our mums, dads, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, grandparents to start off with. And those voices are very, very important because sometimes they're challenging, sometimes they're loving, sometimes they're not loving, sometimes they're overcritical. And it's very, very hard to get rid of the overcritical ones, the ones that thought that you were never quite good enough, that you just didn't quite come up to it. And that is very, very hard to deal with because you do something, you go, oh, it's not good enough, because you're actually voicing that person who said that you're not up to it. And you have to find a way to put that to one side. You have to love yourself in some way or another enough to say, I don't actually care anymore. I did care between naught and whenever that I was not quite good enough, but I've actually got to just move it to one side. I'm trying to make it sound simple. It isn't. It's incredibly difficult, and it can go on eating you up till the day you die. So I do know that, and I've met people who can't finish things, for example. I mean, you don't have to finish things, but if you would like to finish something, some people can't because they're afraid that the thing that they're trying to do, that voice will go, yes, it's not quite good enough. It might be just it's very hard to make a cake, but let's say making cake. But then there's this voice going, well, it's not really as good a cake as so-and-so made, or as I make. Or it might be gardening, or it might be making a pottery, or it might be dancing. Well, you don't really dance as well as so-and-so. Well, if that voice hits you, you could turn it round and make it a challenge and say, well, I will do my best to make it so it is. Or the other route is just to say, I will just satisfy myself on this. But as I say, not easy.
Thank you so much, Michael. I definitely feel inspired, and I'm going to write a poem. I actually will, and I'll send it to you, and you can tell me it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
It's already
great. But that does lead me to think about the January challenge, which I'm really excited about. And for those of you that don't know, the January challenge is 31 days of quick, fun, accessible, creative prompts brought to you by tons of brilliant people across the UK. It's just your way to experience and explore your creativity, because creativity means something different to every single one of us. And yes, I feel like you'll be joining us this January, won't you, Michael?
I will, most certainly.
Okay, so tell me, you've heard about the January challenge.
I have.
Tell me what you think about it.
I think it's a lovely idea for people to think about the fact that you've got creativity inside you. Everybody has.
Yes.
And some people don't even know when they're being creative. That they're doing, let's say, gardening and thinking, well, I'll put this over there and do this over there and I'll just try that out. That's actually creativity.
Yes.
But also, quite often, school has blocked off a lot of other channels. So though people might be comfortable, say, with gardening or with cooking or even just scribbling on a notepad, they might not be as comfortable with some of the other things, let us say writing, which is my area, because school emphasizes being correct, being right. And this makes people nervous and worried. And so there's this great well of language sitting in people's heads, and being able to use that great well of language in a way that you can then deal with the things that you care about. They might be sad things, happy things, fantastic things, memory things, things you see, hear, touch, taste and smell, things you imagine, any of these things which concern you, interest you, intrigue you. You've got this huge resource. So can you use that resource? Because this is our main way, not the only way, that we get to understand the world. We have this incredible thing that human beings have called language that enables us to investigate, understand and discover things about the world. Can we use it in a creative way? Because boy, do we need creativity. If you just name 5 of the major problems of the world, whatever it is, you can be sure that they need creative ways of dealing with them, because if you're not creative about them, you'll just repeat your mistakes. So we need creativity. It's a desperate, desperate thing we need, but we don't actually nurture it. Education is not terribly interested, by and large, in creativity. It is sometimes and in patches, but by and large, if you look at the major programs put in place in this country in education, the idea of creativity was certainly pushed to the edges, which is a tragedy.
Yeah, because I think 50,000 people have already participated in the January challenge, and 82% of of some people that we spoke to said that their well-being was improved after taking part in the January challenge. So there's so many benefits to creativity and exploring your own version of creativity, and it's a shame that people don't get to do that enough. I was told I wasn't very creative, and I am.
Yes,
and I am, but I think it's because people don't really celebrate the different ways in which you can be creative. Like you said, gardening. My mom didn't think she was creative, but she's an amazing cook. So it's really important people are proud of the ways that they express their inward magic.
Well, there's also a strange thing that goes on, that we celebrate very, very creative people, or certainly several kinds of creative people, say singers, and we say how marvellous and wonderful it is. But the slight problem is that because we put them on a pedestal, let's say it's Adele, or let's say it's Stormzy, or some people like that, and we put them on a pedestal and say they're geniuses and they're unique and so on, people then feel, oh, well, I can't do that, only Adele and Stormzy can do it. Yeah? And the problem with that is, I join in the worshipping as well. I look at them and read their words and listen to their songs and so on. And I have my favourites and so on. I think, God, that's amazing. But you should use that as a trigger. I play over and over again one song by Bob Dylan, Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues. And I play it over and over again, and every time I play it, I'm kind of going... And there's another one by Van Morrison I play over and over again, and I sort of listen to it. And I think, wow. But then I use that as a kind of trigger, a platform, to come up with my own ideas. So that would be one thing that I'd say, that when you worship and adore these hugely creative people, whoever they are, across, we're talking about your mum cooking, that's fine, and the rest of it, you use that to say, well, that person is not a different species from me. That's my mum. That's Stormzy. Look at, he's just a person. He's not just, you're right, he's a very special person, but he is just another human being. And I might not be able to do everything that he does, but maybe that little bit where he said this about that, I could just have a little go about that myself, quietly on my own. I could just sit there, just have a little go, and then I could do that. I could just say it and then have the same rhythm. Maybe I'd steal the rhythm that he uses, you see. Or, what did Adele write about? She wrote about busting up with her geezer. Yeah. Right? That's what she wrote. And she wrote about it quite often, in fact, which is great. It's fine. And this is, it's a terribly upsetting thing. So what do? You find words for it. If you can find a way to sing it, that's great, but you don't have to. And then she could express that thing and how she felt. Well, you could say, well, I broke up with my partner. And I could find a way of expressing that. So that I could sit in playing Adele over and over again, sort of thing, if that's what I want to do. That's great. And then you could go, well, but my situation is slightly different because this, that, and that happened. Could I get that way of doing it? And that way, you would then be dealing with your personal stuff.
I think creativity just for the sake of creating is so important as well. Expressing breakups or I don't know, anything. I think it's so important that people feel comfortable knowing that this is accessible to them. And like you said, is in every single one of us. So,
it's also a way in which when you put something out there, either onto a piece of paper or maybe say you make a ceramic or whatever it is, but let's say it is, stick with writing for the moment, that when you put it out there, what you've actually done is take something out of your head and enabled you to look at yourself. So there's a quality of the mirror, when you go in front of the mirror, you look at yourself and you go, oh, right, not so bad. You do all that stuff in front of a mirror. I do, but you don't, obviously. You've never looked in a mirror in your life. No, I can tell that. And but actually, when you write, you're doing something similar. You put something down there. This such and such happened, broke the window, or, she walked out. Whatever it is, he walked out. And you look at that and you go, is that really me? And then you can change it a bit. Yeah, so just like you might go, just do the eye. Yeah, you can actually change it a bit in order to make it more accurate, more authentic to you. Well, that's you're doing it to. So this actually brings what we call an objectivity to your subjective experience. So subjective is the personal stuff, and the objective is where you're outside of yourself and you can look back at yourself and go, am I really that person? Am I not really that person? Imagine, conjure up the idea of Adele. She's written all that stuff about bust up. She can look at that and say, was I really fair about that? Did I get that right? Did I express my emotions right? So in other words, she can be objective about how she was writing about that bust up. Yeah? And that takes you actually beyond feeling satisfied. It actually takes you into a kind of serenity.
Yeah.
Now, it may not last. I'm not going to promise you that. But actually, as you do that moment of looking, there is a kind of peace that comes to you.
I think when you speak about perfectionism, that's another thing that scares people off from trying things. But I always say you can't do surgery without a body. Yeah. Like, just try, just write. You can only improve if you have something to improve. So, I think you're totally right. Like, Adele didn't become Adele overnight. Yeah. She tried.
And also, there is actually no such thing as perfection.
Honestly.
So that's fine. And in fact, one of the things you can do is learn that there's no such thing as perfection. And that's actually quite encouraging.
Yeah.
Once you know that you can't actually be perfect with something, it's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
And then you can accept that. Quite a lot of this stuff is about accepting yourself and accepting what kind of a person you are. So when you find that moment, you can actually take strength from it. There's this famous thing they say about the stunningly brilliant, what we call Persian carpets. Sorry, that's a bit of a sort of imperialist term, but anyway, Persian carpets, that we call those woven carpets, they used to weave in a deliberate fault into them as partly, I think, an acknowledgement of first of all, that it was done. It wasn't a machine, it was a human being, but also it acknowledges that aspect of our sort of imperfection. So you might have a pattern, let's say it's a zigzag, like that. Well, you just make at one point that the zigzag would be just a bit of a zagzag instead of a zigzag. So you just do a bit of that, and it's quite fun. I think people spot these deliberate faults. Well, I like that. It's interesting. You accept the imperfection is actually a route to strength.
I'm speechless, because exactly this is what I feel like we want people to understand through the January challenge, like just to try something, enjoy the imperfections of it. And if I am correct, I believe you are participating in our upcoming January challenge.
I am.
Oh, okay. Tease us. Tell us a bit more.
Well,
but
I've almost hinted a little bit. You asked me about, where did my creativity start? And I gave you the example of, well, by then I was, I think, about 3 when I came up with Hornby Teacher instead of Miss Hornby. That huge act of creativity. I don't diminish it. No, it wasn't bad. My parents thought it was very funny. They loved it, and they always went on calling her Hornby Teacher. In fact, I've just put a little postscript to that, is that when I was about 40, Hornby Teacher wrote to me.
Oh, did she?
And she said, I am Hornby Teacher. And by then she was Mrs. Forcer. And she said, and every letter that she wrote to me for the next 20 years, all right, she signed off Hornby Teacher.
That is so endearing.
It is, isn't it? Oh, it's just absolutely lovely. Dear Mrs. Forster, I've got a pile of her letters, and they're all signed off. Mrs. Forster, I think sometimes just Hornby Teacher, which she writes, she puts inverted commas around it, and she's got this lettering that's, like letters have, printed letters quite often have serifs on. That's the little extra bits. So I can see the H now in front of my mind here, and it's got the little extra bits on the letters. Hornby Teacher. And we sat and talked about, in these letters, talking about Mrs. Gillick and so on. Anyway, so the little hint, and we're not going to do anything more than hint. In fact, we're inviting people to be creative and speculate about what this might be. I was talking about things that happened early on in your life. I say no more.
Well, I am intrigued, and I will be participating entirely.
You better.
What incredible impact from the mind of a 3-year-old. Like that term you came up with, Hornby Teacher, led to 20 years of letters between you and your teacher.
Exactly. It's lovely. And we sat and talked about all sorts of things, about education, about what it was like she was trying to do at Tyneholm Nursery School in 1949. She was wonderful. And I can remember her so well. I mean, she was a lovely woman.
And I'm sure...
Apart from one thing, she made me go to sleep in the afternoons on a camp bed, an army camp bed with a hairy blanket. I don't think I've forgiven her for that, actually, because I hated the hairy blanket. And in fact, after Hornby teacher and Gallica's got a big gas stove. I remember saying about the nursery school that I didn't like it because of the hairy blanket.
Okay, so once we told the world that you were coming through, we had quite a few questions. And I'm just going to pick my favorite one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Okay, this is my favorite one. It's not the most complicated, but I know you've got a great answer for it. Of all your work, what has been your favorite piece and why?
We sit down to eat,
Okay.
and the potato's a bit hot. So I only put a little bit on my fork and I blow till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice. And there's my brother. He's doing the same till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice. And there's my mum. She's doing the same till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice. But my dad, what does he do? He stuffs a great big chunk of potato straight into his mouth, and that really does it. His eyes pop out, he blows, he puffs, he yells, he bobs his head up and down. He even, sorry about this, spits bits of potato onto the plate. And then he turns to us and he says, "Watch out, everybody, the potato's really hot." Anyway, there we are. That little piece.
No, stop it. We have to applaud. We have to applaud that.
Thank you.
Wow. How did you make okay, how did you make, how did you make such entertainment and magic from such a relatable moment?
One of the things about a certain kind of creativity is focus and concentration. Some people can be very spontaneous and just sort of splash things down. And there was a guy, D.H. Lawrence, who people know, he very much believed in spontaneity in writing. And that's great. And you can see spontaneity in what's called action painting. You know, and you get somebody like Jackson Pollock, you know, who's kind of swung a great big sort of paint tin across painting. So you can have that, and that's great. But there's another kind where you focus and concentrate on a moment or a thing or a person. And then you try to work out, and people have called it the thingness of the thing, right? It's sort of a German expression, but it's the idea that you get to the essence of it. The poet Ted Hughes talked about the crowiness of crows. And what he meant about that was that if you sit there concentrating on a crow and get it into your head and think about it, words will start coming up, expressions will start coming up. I tend not to do it about objects myself. I tend to do it about moments. A moment. And sometimes it's a thing that somebody said, so I might then go back what led up to that moment. So that phrase, "Watch out, everybody, the potato's really hot," had existed in our family as a saying. And then I thought, well, where did it come from? And it nearly always was, because we all knew that the potato was hot. But the old man sat there because he was quite interested in what he had to say, let me put that politely. So he always thought that he was quite an expert. And so he that saying became relevant because of that, because we all knew, obviously, we'd blown on our potato. So then I found that way to concentrate, focus, what was the thingness of that thing, what was the point about that. It was because the old man was saying something that we already knew. Yeah. So then I could set up the little drama that came before it. And I'm very interested in drama and theatre. In fact, a lot of my poems are actually little mini theatres. And so then I picture it, doesn't it? So you can see my brother, my mum, and me, and my dad, and we're sitting there in this hot potato. All that's painting with words. All that you can see. And then I've also learnt that quite often repetition and rhythm are important. People often think that poetry is based on rhyme. In actual fact, repetition and rhythm are at least as important, if not more important. If you look at a lot of grime and things like that, you'll see the rhyme is quite often secondary, not always, but sometimes it's there, and that quite often it's the rhythm that is working, the pulse of the piece that is holding it together. And so that's obviously there with that one, you know, till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. So it's even before I get to the other bit, that's, you know, the rhythm is going, all right? And so that actually enables the nice at the end there. You see, that enables that thing to work because you've got the chum. You see, so that comes about through the focus.
It was amazing to watch in real life. I've seen it on your YouTube, but I feel like I just had a fangirl.
Oh, nobody's seen it before.
Huh?
Nobody's seen that.
Oh, yes, they have. It has like 82 million views.
No, and also nobody's ever cut it off and made it into a meme. No, that's had 200 million views. No, it's brand new.
Humble, I love it.
No.
Okay, we're going to go into our quick fire round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions and you just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh, that's really scary.
You've got this. You ready?
No.
I'm going to go anyway.
Okay.
One place that's a guaranteed source of inspiration for you.
Oh, quick fire. Inspiration. Probably sitting in my office.
Okay. A form of creativity you would like to try.
Pottery.
Another creator you look up to.
William Shakespeare.
Last time you ran out of ideas.
About 4 seconds ago.
You've achieved so many awards. Which one meant the most to you?
Oh golly, I'm a fellow of the Royal College of Nursing, and I love it that they thanked me for the fact that I thanked them. Yes.
I love it. What creative tool would you choose to help you survive on a deserted island?
I've got to have some means of writing, haven't I? I suppose I could crush up berries and write on leaves. Okay. Something a bit more than that. Paper's pretty durable, so if you gave me a big stack of paper, I'd probably find a way to make marks on it. Okay,
fantastic. Last question. A moment where you tried to be creative and it didn't turn out the way you imagined.
Oh, that happens all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, they're highly relatable.
Well
done.
Whew. I was actually sweating on that one. I was really getting worried.
You did fantastically. Hey, Michael.
Hi.
Can I just say I am so grateful for you coming on the show and sharing your story or journey. You have an amazing aura, so thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
No problem at all. And of course, we just want to make sure that we leave with a clear message about what creativity is.
Oh, yeah.
So, can you tell us what you believe creativity is on that piece of paper?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is not timed, but...
No.
But you don't have forever.
No.
Oh, there's passion. Oh, I like this. Okay, are you ready to share it with the world and me? Because I'm curious.
Yes, well, we'll start with you.
Okay, creativity is trial and error without fear of failure. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Give everyone a second to take that in, meditate on it. Fantastic. So that is exactly what the January challenge is all about. So if you want to participate, just click the link below and you'll find out everything that you need. And of course, you get to participate in what you teased us about, your earliest memory. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining us. And that has been Creativity Is.